On the menu today is light tilapia soup. My ingredients are I have 2 pieces of tilapia. These were purchased frozen and they're cleaned and they're ready to go. I have some onions, some habanero peppers. These are optional. If you're not used to eating spicy food, obviously don't add habanero peppers or just add a smaller amount. I have a piece of ginger. This is fresh ginger and fresh garlic. I don't put too much of those because I don't want them to overpower the food. And then, of course, I have my cubes, which is a knorr. I also have some potatoes. These are also optional. You don't have to add them at all. You can also choose to add plantains, green or semi-ripe plantains. You can also use yam if you prefer, but any of those will work fine. And then I have some leeks. I actually learned how to clean leeks properly. So in here are my leeks. I'm going to use some in the soup. I will also blend some in the blender ready for the soup. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut the tilapia into steaks, and then I'm going to blend the onions, the habaneros, the ginger, garlic, and some of the leek. And then I'm going to cut the potatoes into chunks. And then I will show you what I'm going to do with these next. So stay with me. In here, I have cut the catfish. These are not large by any means, so I've just cut them in half because otherwise they'll be too thin. And you start cooking your soup, it's not going to stay together. It might just disintegrate in a pot. So I just cut them in half. This is the perfect season for soups, by the way. I mean, it's cooling down. Christmas is coming, the season is changing, and everywhere is looking really merry, and you want to cuddle up and keep warm. So, soups are very soothing at the moment, and this is excellent in the sense that there's nothing that is problematic in it. Let's put it that way. So, you have your tilapia, like I said before, you have the garlic, a bit of ginger, some onions, I put some leeks, some peppers. I also have some spinach. I'm going to add the spinach towards the end so that there will be some kind of green in the soup. Now, this soup can be tweaked to your taste. So if you want it to be tweaked to taste like an Asian soup, you can certainly do that by adding perhaps some soy sauce, some oyster sauce, or whatnot. And also, if you want to go the Indian way, you can also add your spices to turn it into what you like. Um, Nigerians will probably add some other spices like I think it's called Oda and Uziza, which is quite spicy and very fragrant. But I'm making this generic just so that you can have a base to work with. And also, if you don't like any of those flavors or you prefer your food bland, then that works. So that's what I have here. The other thing you can do is to use a different kind of fish. We often use catfish, which I will do at some point to use catfish instead of the tilapia. I think these are best with non-oily fish. So I wouldn't use mackerel or salmon or sardines or anything like that. I would just stick to regular fish, white fish that is not oily. And so that's basically it. I'm boiling some water now. I've blended the pepper, the onions, the garlic, and the ginger in the blender, and the potatoes have been washed and cut. I typically don't remove the skin of my potatoes, especially if they're the golden ones. They already come washed, but I wash them again with a brush just to make sure that any dirt or any sand on the skin, I can get rid of that. So that's already been washed and cut into chunks. These will go into the soup first because they will take a while to cook. The fish doesn't usually um, take that much time to cook, so I'm going to not add that at the beginning. I will also put some leek because leek has this oniony taste, so I'm going to add that just to give it some character when it's finished. So I think my water has boiled from what I can hear. Okay, so the water is boiled. I'm going to move the camera so you can actually see what I'm going to do. So I'll see you in a moment. So you can see the water has boiled. So I'm going to add my potatoes first. So there goes the potatoes. The amount of water you want to add is dependent on what you like. If you like a lot of soup, as in the water part of the soup, then you can certainly add more. But just to bear in mind that you have to add more of the seasoning because now you have more volume that you have to season. So as you know, potatoes can also absorb salt. Well, not can, they actually absorb salt from the soup. So that's the potatoes. I'm going to let it boil for a moment. At this point, I'm also going to add the blended mix of the pepper, the habanero pepper, the onions, the ginger, and the garlic, and some of the leeks. So I'm going to add it at this point. That way, all the flavor from the mix is going to go into the pot and get absorbed into the potatoes and ready for the fish. So here we are. Okay. So there you go. I'm going to rinse the blender with some water so I can get more volume into the soup. Hope we're all keeping well and Christmas is coming. You know, this is often when I normally would get carried away and get ready for all the candy and it's open season. But this time, we're not going to do that. We're going to be ready and we're going to food prep in advance and we're going to include some of the foods that I make that are innocent. I'm going to include that in the menu. That way, we all get a fair share of what we're going to eat for the season. So I'm going to allow this to boil. Um, I will also add the cube at this point, again to make sure that all the flavors go into the pot. So this is the knorr. I might just add one because the fish, I only have 4 pieces of fish. So I'm just going to add one to see if that's enough. If it's not enough, I can go ahead and add the second one. So I'm just going to add one and let that boil and see what happens with the taste. Okay, and that's it for now. Okay, so the soup has been boiling now for about 10 minutes. So the potatoes are half cooked. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and add the fish. There you go. There you go. There you go. Okay, so I've added the fish. I'm going to separate them in the pot. This is going to need a little bit more water. If you can see, I hope you can see that the fish is kind of sticking out. So I'm going to add a little bit of water to cover the fish. Okay, just gonna add some more water to cover the fish. I'm going to let that boil a little bit and then I'll see if I need to add more salt or if what I've already added is enough. So who has some pounds to lose before Christmas or Thanksgiving? Do you? I'm still working on maybe losing a couple more pounds, but at this point, I'm more focused on maintaining what I've lost so far. So that's that. Okay, so this has been boiling now for about 5 minutes. I'm going to taste to see if I need to add some seasoning to it. Um, so, okay, I think I need to add the other cube that I didn't add. So I'm going to add that in. I'm going to add a little bit of aromat, which is also salty. Now we'll see if that is enough. Here you go. So when you mix it, you have to be mindful of the pieces of the tilapia, so you don't cause them to completely fall apart. So just be careful when you stir. As you can see, yeah, this is already trying to fall apart, so just be careful so they can stay intact. Yeah, the taste is coming along. So I'm going to let it boil for a couple more minutes. I'm going to add a bit of salt. I'm also going to add some chopped up leeks, just so that I can have that on top of it. And I'll let that boil. And once that's ready, I'm going to add the spinach, and that will basically be it. Okay, so the soup is pretty much done now. So I'm going to just add a handful of spinach. I think that's all I need. It doesn't need to have too much or a lot of spinach in there. It just needs a sprinkle of spinach. Again, just be careful when you mix the soup so you don't cause the tilapia to fall apart. This is one advantage of using catfish, because catfish is less likely to disintegrate in the soup than tilapia. But you can pretty much use any other fish. I like to do a different fish sometimes just to get a different taste. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to serve it. I'm going to dish it out in a bowl so you can see what it looks like. I believe the potatoes are also done, as well as the tilapia. I'll see you in a moment. Okay, there you go. That's the bowl of the light tilapia soup. What do you think? I think it looks great. So I'm going to taste it so I can tell you exactly what it tastes like. It's really hot, so I have to be really careful. So, oh wow, this is great. Try the potatoes. Still quite hot, so it's really nice and light. And I'm going to try the fish. Here we are, some fish. Which is very nice. Just be careful when you add the salt. So this is the light tilapia soup. You can tweak it in so many different ways. You can tweak it by using a different fish. You can tweak it by adding plantains or yams. You can also add carrots. It's just that carrots might make it a little sweet. You can also add some Brussels sprout. I like doing that because that makes it a little bitter, which is fine for me. So you can add any vegetables you want. I put in some spinach in here. You can add kale or use any other green vegetable that you like. And this would be great for any meal actually. You can have it for breakfast. You can also have it as a starter and maybe skip the potatoes, you know, like an appetizer. You can also add it for, you can also have it for supper, especially if maybe you've had your main meal, or if you have someone who has diabetes, or if you're insulin resistant, then this will be perfect to have, and just leave the potatoes out and have the fish, and the rest of the content of the soup, really, they're just vegetables. So are you going to try this? Please try it and let me know what you think. And by the way, my name is IJ. This is Wellness with IJ. Have you subscribed to the channel? If you haven't, please go ahead and subscribe, and then turn on your notification bell so you can get notified when I make a new video. Like I said, my recipes are very simple. I don't use too many ingredients. I use the same ingredients all the time. That way you're not having to shop and buy so many different vegetables just because you want to cook. I try to keep all my meals the same way in terms of what I add to them. And until the next item on the menu, I'm going to say goodbye. Please keep being healthy, keep making all those nutritious meals, keep exercising, and keep being happy. Until the next time, you take care. Goodbye.